Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max. I'm your host, Sean Garmer, here with me as usual, Mr. Mark Morrison.
Howdy.
And well, we have some interesting stuff to talk about. So we don't have like a lot of gaming stuff to get into this week. It was kind of light for both of us, but PlayStation had their big business summit thing where they talked about kind of like the present and future of PlayStation. And then also Nintendo had some confirmation of rumored news that was out last week, but I didn't want to talk about it yet because it wasn't totally confirmed. Um, so we do have Nintendo Switch 2 sales, and they're a huge number. We'll talk about that. And also, kind of on the heels of that, and especially with the Xbox stuff last week, too, we're going to kind of talk about who might have the best strategy going into next gen if we take a look at everything from this gen. So we'll talk about that as well, kind of like our big topic. Borderlands 4 is in fact going to be $70. So who knows if the Randy Pitchford effect had a positive or negative on that. And we finally got a new Nintendo Direct, but it might not be probably what most people are expecting. We'll get into all those things and more on this episode of Video Games to the Max right after this.
You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
All right, so let's quickly go ahead and get into the um, housekeeping here. So, this is your first time watching or many a time watching, we do appreciate you. This is usually when we do the show live, which you can watch on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook W2 Network. And watch as we do the show live, or you can just check it out later by subscribing to the YouTube channel and watch us there on demand whenever you'd like. If you ring the bell, hit subscribe, all that stuff, follow, it helps us out, and you get to know when we do an episode of the show. But as you probably can tell, we are not the only thing on this awesome W2 Network channel. We have other shows that we do as well. So if you're a big fan of anime, we have the Otaku Cafe guys. They do a great job looking at the seasonal anime that comes out each uh, season and talking about that. And then they do awards for each season at the end as well. And then you also got the Rouser Broadcasting folks, which they are usually always reviewing some kind of new movie that just came out. This week is the live action How to Train Your Dragon. So you definitely, if you're interested in movies and maybe you have watched or have not watched and want to know what some people thought, check it out. They do a deep dive every time they do a review too. It's not just talking about the film itself. So they do a great job over there. Check them out. And they do other things like TV shows, music, and all that stuff as well. So you can also listen on podcasts if that helps out. You can go find on the podcast service of your choice, Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. You can check us out there. Subscribe to whichever show or all three shows. Leave a review if you want, and that helps us out even more. So, also, want to give him a shout out. Our buddy Randy, he brought back his Bad Brackets show, which is his March Madness style 2014 bracket thing. And this week, I was on along with Scott, Sis Scott from Outer Haven, and a good friend of ours, Robert Taylor, doing best video game sequels. So I'll put a link in the description there, and you guys can check it out at your leisure. It was a really fun episode. A lot of hard ones to have to decide, and the final four is probably not the final four you would think. You would probably pick. Sure as heck wasn't mine. So, but hey, that's why you gotta do the show, play the games, as they say. So we did play a few games here. Along with the whole Summer Game Fest thing is usually Steam Next Fest, and I played one of the demos for a game that's going to come out in a few weeks. But But I'll go ahead and let Mark talk about his Suikoden 2 here.
Yeah, just been hammering through that. I just did the like academy level green leaf, I think.
Mhm.
So I'm about halfway through, give or take. Yep, still enjoy it. I almost restarted because like there are items you can get very early on in the game that like break the game with certain characters, and I was just screw it. Like I don't want to replay 4 hours of this.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I at this point I'm just kind of screwing with you because you keep asking me when I'm going to set up my Switch 2, and I say when I finish this game. So I'm gonna milk it as long as possible.
Now
So
you're
be
just
like,
doing it on purpose. Let's see. Okay.
yeah, I'd be like, I set up my Switch in like November, or the first time I
Yeah,
get
well,
like a review copy of something.
yeah, we're gonna be sitting there talking about all this other stuff with Nintendo, and you haven't even set up the thing.
All right,
I was thinking we were gonna have like a whole segment on what does Mark think about the Switch 2, and then he goes, "Oh no, I haven't even set it up yet." I'm like,
right,
damn.
yep.
Okay, then there goes that.
Yen's got his though. He got his through Nintendo, and he likes it. He got Mario Kart, and he's just made it like how few physical games, like actual games there are.
I mean, anybody could have told you that was coming.
Right, but like he was like, so what games are actually like on the cartridge? Not that game key thing, but like
I mean, technically, the game key cards are partially on the cartridge because you have to put the cartridge in to use it. So
I imagine that is eventually going to be a nice vector for people like pirating games.
yeah, it's interesting how some companies are also counting it in different ways. Like Capcom actually counts it as digital,
Right.
On their sales sheet. So, going to be interesting to see if other people will count it as that as well.
Right.
It kind of is visible, yeah.
And I was like, well, I think Kirby is, but it's a Switch 1 game. And I think Mario Party is, but it's also a Switch 1 game. And I don't know, Cyberpunk, which he has no interest in.
Yeah, Cyberpunk is actually the only one, I think, of the Switch
Right.
2 games that is. Oh no, also the Rune Factory game. That's also completely on.
Everyone wants that. Everyone wants that,
It's actually a good game. It's just not. It's not like amazing, but it's supposed to be a good game. Probably one of the better ones, out of that third-party lineup that's on Switch. At launch. So
he keeps trying to convince me that Earth Defense Force 6 is like worth playing, and I'm like, you're gonna need to pay me to play that game. Like,
you don't want to play. You don't want to just play it just to play it with him.
No, I have standards. He doesn't, and he keeps trying to say like, oh, this one does stuff that no other Earth Defense Force game has done before, and I'm like, what? Be good, which it still fails at. Like, you're talking about it's the same game as every one of those goddamn things. Like,
and I mean, yeah, sure. So he only has Mario Kart.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he wants. I mean, he wants something, but there's nothing really out yet.
Yeah, he has Cyberpunk already.
He doesn't even have that. He's just kind of hoping, like everyone else at this point, that Donkey Kong's like halfway decent.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll get to Donkey Kong in a little bit here.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm glad to know that he likes it.
Yep.
That's a good deal. Randy also just now got back into being able to get into gaming again after having to be off for a while because of his job or going to that World Series thing he had to broadcast. So he said that he just got Game Pass again. He's played a little bit of Clair Obscur, so maybe when we have him on in a few weeks to wax poetic about Death Stranding 2, he'll.
You need to get back to Clair Obscura.
And he said that he did get to finish Split Fiction finally. He's been playing that with his wife, and he said that not as good as It Takes Two. He said it felt long at times, and it was kind of frustrating. His wife, who's also very much, she's not like one of these like she is very much a gamer as well. She's not like a casual gamer just playing because it's something you can play with your your significant other or whatever. So like it was frustrating her with all the different mechanics and stuff like that. He said,
Right.
and the story's not as good as either. He said so.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like it's very like no duh this is gonna happen, or
Right.
like very obvious. So
It's going to be interesting to see if it ends up making the like game of the year conversation when we get to the end of the year. Like I definitely, best family game and multiplayer game, that kind of thing. That it'll definitely be there. But
I think it might be nominated, but I think Mario World will take that, like no question.
yeah, like probably so. But I'm just saying, like, there's still quite a bit of stuff coming that we haven't gotten to in this year, and I wonder if because of how early Split Fiction came out, will it be a game of the year conversation when we get down to that?
Right. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, it's sold well and everything.
Right.
And it got great reviews, but well,
once they make that movie, it'll come back up.
Yeah, I'm sure. But all right. I guess to get to the one game that I played rather extensively, I had an idea to at least have played a couple of hours of The Alters before we did the show, because that's been getting really good reviews and it's on Game Pass. And I've OT just was not letting me have it where I could play and do. I just today at work was terrible. Had no way to be able to play anything. So I was just like, well, I'm just going to talk about the one game I got to play on Saturday, and then that's pretty much it, I guess. So the Steam Next Fest ended today. Technically, I downloaded a bunch of demos. I have no idea, I guess, until I come back to them again on Wednesday, how many of them are still playable.
Right.
Because you know how that works. Some of them don't work when that Next Fest ends, and some of them still stay on. But I checked out a game that's going to be available on everything on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PC called Ruffy in the Riverside. It's very like cartoony looking. I'm pretty sure they showed it off at the Switch Indie World, and I'm sure they've shown it off at other like indie showcases in the time that, not just the Summer Games Fest, but other ones as well. It has this like raccoon ish looking character that has like a little cap on his head. And he has a little bee for a buddy. And it's essentially, I want to say, if I'm going to compare it to something, it's almost like an indie version of Mario 64. Because it has a lot of the, like, okay, it's set in this overworld thing and you can explore the overworld area, but then it also has the same kind of like the levels require stars for you to unlock the next level. So you have to find the stars in the level that you're in, or get stars from around the overworld, because there's various like NPC characters that have little things for you to do, where you can get stars as well. And yeah, I mean it's so like if you like 3D platformers,
they don't make a ton of them anymore.
Yeah, they don't make a lot of them. We just had to talk about Platonic like doing Layoffs recently, and they were
kind of got to support them when you can, even if you don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this one comes out, June 26th. So, if you're interested at all, I would definitely check it out. I had a lot of fun with it. Also sucks that it's a demo, so it has no saving. So I had to wind up playing it like I think 3 different times because I had to exit out to do something on my laptop, and then lost it there. But
and you don't exit out, you just alt tab.
Yeah, you learn how. See, I am not very. I'm trying to get back into doing the PC gaming thing, since gonna probably be a while since I get my new laptop. So I was like, well, might as well get use out of this one that I still have here. And also because I'm definitely not getting that Xbox handheld thing. It's too much money. Even doing something like a firm or whatever, I could use a laptop is like just use like a little bit more of than that and get a pretty good one, you know. So I'd rather just put more money onto that and get the laptop that I need instead of buying a handheld that I may use for a while and then, you know, wind up maybe not using as much as I thought. So,
well, I think the gaming handheld will age faster than a laptop, you know.
yeah, that too. That's the thing is like, especially the ROG, maybe not so much the Steam Deck, but the ROG family, because they are a computer company, you know, they make their own laptops and stuff like that. They will be iterating on the ROG Ally quite often. I don't know if Xbox. Now, look, don't quote me on this because I have not heard anyone say this except for one person. So I'm really not sure if this is true and they just misheard, because I'd imagine that somebody would have put this out there. But according to you know, MinMax, that I was watching their like post SGF stuff, Janet Garcia, who had checked out the ROG Ally, she said that she was told that the Xbox Ally is going to apparently phase out. It's going to cause the other allies to phase out after those come out. So for a while, those will be the only versions of the ROG Ally that you will be able to buy. Which I could see Microsoft maybe putting in enough money to being like, okay, we'll do this partnership. You help us out, do this, but these are going to be the only versions of the ROG Ally. So you're forced to have the Xbox system, whether you want to or not. You know,
which I think if that was the case, people would just turn to the MSI Claw or the eventual
definitely the Steam Deck, you know,
Steam Deck 2 or
which they might already that way.
Right.
You know, and then obviously Lenovo now using the Steam OS.
I mean, also I could see them really trying to Asus trying to really distance itself from like the ROG Ally name, or you know, their own version of it, because it was so not well received, to put it politely. So if they say like, oh, this has more Microsoft quality than our own quality, then people might like it a little better.
Yeah, gonna be interesting if that ends up doing well or not with the Xbox branding. Does that move the needle at all?
Here's the other thing. I think what they should do, I mean, I don't know if this is true or if it's like locked in, but I think Asus would have a better shot of actually just making like their own more stripped down version of the Ally.
Yeah.
Like if you want the Xbox ones, you know, with whatever game bar bullshit and all that other crap, go ahead. But if you want just a more like, here's our version of the Steam machine or Steam Deck, that's because even though the price of the Xbox ones, I'd say they're $600 and $800. If they release one like $400,
I think they said they might go down to $500 for the regular version. Yeah. But even then, that's still expensive. That's the whole price of a PS5. You know,
right? But funny enough, that's not the price on Xbox anymore. So
yeah, exactly. It'll be interesting, yeah, if the like Xbox ROG Ally will be cheaper than an Xbox Series X. Still not cheaper than the S, but you know,
right.
That is the S equivalent, I guess. So I guess it would make sense. So I mean, that's it for us as far as the gaming front goes. But let's get into PlayStation's business summit thing that they had earlier this week. Essentially, it was kind of them talking about like their strategy going forward, which we'll get into more of like everybody else's strategy looking into the PlayStation 6. So I won't talk about we'll save the PlayStation 6 part of things, which wasn't a lot, but still. Also they did reveal the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium games, which we already knew about FBC Firebreak, which that will probably be out by the time you're watching or listening to this, because it comes out on the 17th. That's also on Game Pass, by the way. So I'm gonna see if I can play with Randy, and I know you don't have either one, so
person to be inserted in later.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing, like that ain't your type of game.
Hey, but I love the Control universe, so I might give it a shot just to
I mean,
support.
that's like saying like, oh, Metal Gear Survive is worthwhile. It's like, no, like,
Hey, there's people that like online that maybe they want to play whatever that Metal Gear Online thing is going to be, which they haven't said technically, but I'm gonna just check it out to see how it is. If obviously
right,
if the lore stuff, I can watch it without having really
right,
going far into the game, but I do want to see how they kind of put that in and everything. But as far as the rest of it goes, we love Katamari Reroll plus the Royal Reverie. That's a really good collection of the remasters of the Katamari games.
yep,
That's on both PS5, PS4. Ayuden Chronicles 100 Heroes. Marc enjoyed that game,
yep.
you say? Endless
Like, wow,
Dungeon, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2, Battlefield 2042. And then also is this the original Dos Ex? The Conspiracy that's going to be on premium? Or is that a different? That's coming to PlayStation Premium as well. And also, they did talk about PlayStation Plus in this
yeah,
business summit thing.
yeah. That Deus Ex is the PS2 version.
Okay, so it is the PS2 version. All right, good. They did talk about PlayStation Plus in this section, and they talked about how it has increased now that we have more subscribers. Representing 38% of the total subscriber base are in the extra or premium tier, which has gone up from, was it 17 and 13% to 20, 22 and 16% as of fiscal year last year.
Yeah,
And then he kind of talked about this is the reason why they feel like they could raise subscription prices because of more people being in those higher tiers. So it would justify them feeling like they could. Of course, this also comes on the heels of rumors about Xbox Game Pass going up as well. Also, because they have not raised prices on the PlayStation 5, whereas Xbox did.
right.
So this could be a way for them to get that revenue back that they're not doing by raising the hardware. Do you see them raising the price of the PS Plus, and how much do you feel like it gets to the point where it's just not viable if you're raising the prices of those tiers, which are already at what 15 and or was it 16 and well, okay, 15 and 18 respectively at this point.
What about
So
I think this like a higher one or a?
well, okay, it's 18 a month for the PS Plus Premium, and then I think it's like 16 for extra.
Oh, okay.
So
I could see him raising it like maybe like $1 or $2, or just have the expensive one be 20. And then you get a discount if it's if you buy a year or something like you always do.
right, yeah.
But I don't know, like for that price, like it's kind of dumb. But
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it all depends on you as a person, what you're willing to spend for that.
right, like I mean, if you don't care about Katamari or the Hunter Call of the Wild, like what are you spending the money on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it doesn't really affect people that do these things by year. If you're doing
Right.
it monthly, it kind of affects you more when they raise the price.
Yeah.
So I would say that I could see them definitely doing $20 for premium, and then 17 or like 17 for extra.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that if Sony didn't have a habit of removing their own first party games from the service, I would say it's definitely more worth it if you don't have the ability to buy all of those, even though they do go on sale on like
Right.
Nintendo and you can get them, a lot of them really cheap. So, that's up to you, obviously, on that. But then, at the rate that Sony keeps remastering and remaking things, those little price drops aren't as significant anymore because now you have nicer versions, which justifies them charging you more for them. So that's the thing I would say on that. But they have really upped it recently on the premium tier. Like for a while, man, it was not worth subscribing to that thing at all. They were really bad about putting, having a regular cadence of releases. Now they kind of keep timing it around, like when there's another remaster happening, and they have those games. Like they recently had the Twisted Metal games come in because they know that the season 2 of Twisted Metal's about to start airing, or is airing. I don't even know right now.
Twisted Metal 2, I think it's like in a few weeks or.
Yeah, it's going to start like by the time we get through this month. By the time we get to the end of the month, it will have started airing. So it makes sense to have more Twisted Metal games on there.
No, you should have the good Twisted Metal games on there.
Well, they already had 1 and 2, I think, previously. So they added like 3 and 4 was
right.
And I could see them, doing the same thing with like Metal Gear Solid for August.
Right.
So it makes sense that way.
I gotta imagine that Twisted Metal show after this season is done, like they're gonna like, nope, we're good.
We'll see. You never know if it does well. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's not like Peacock has a ton
Anything
going
else?
on.
Right.
As far as the shows. I mean, you have the staples that are still around. Poker Face just came out with season 2. But it feels like, when we got out of that pandemic era where people really cut back, they don't have a ton.
Right.
So, I wouldn't be surprised that maybe they keep them around for another season, but obviously depends on how well it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, PlayStation Plus, if it does go up in price, not surprised, really. Everything keeps going up in price. So why wouldn't PlayStation do it if they are getting more subscribers to it? Especially because you do have to at least be subscribed to the essential tier to be able to use the online play. So why not?
Yeah.
Another thing they talked about is their PC strategy. They doubled down again on they are not going to just release everything on PC. And in fact, they iterate, Herman Holtz pretty much said that they are being very selective of what they put on PC and when they put it on PC, because they want to make sure that essentially PlayStation 5 owners get the most they can out of it, especially because also the PC version will be better graphically than at least what the traditional PS5 can offer, and even the PS5 Pro to a certain extent. So, they want to make sure that they're doing right by the PS5 owner, that's great to hear. If you're a PS5, only console gamer or whatnot, then you have all these games and you want to make sure that, hey, you're not playing them. But I honestly think at this point, like, okay, definitely I understand for the games that haven't come out yet, like the Ghost of Yotes and things like that. But, the older games that still haven't come out to PC, like, are you really losing anything by the fact that they're not there? I mean, if we're talking about even 2-year-old games at this point, like, what more are you getting or losing by not having it on PC?
Right.
I'm not saying that they need to just start porting everything and porting it immediately and everything comes out within a 2-month span or whatever. You can still pick and choose. And I definitely understand you're going to wait at least a year strategy for the PC version, because it does make it to where the shorter you put the window, the more that they will be willing to wait, and they won't. I mean, obviously PC players, they're the hardcore PC master race people, they will definitely wait around. They don't care. They want to play on Steam, they will play on Steam. But I mean, like, do you see the point in this of still keeping a lot of things not on PC yet?
Some stuff, sure. Like I could, I don't think Astrobot will ever actually hit PC, or if it does, it'll still be like a year off, or we'll see. But I mean, the one that everyone wants is still Bloodborne, and at this point, I gotta imagine it's Sony holding it up and not uh, FromSoft.
It might be a Miyazaki thing because I wonder if he wants to be involved in that in some way. And it's not like he's just his projects are just slowing down or anything.
Right. Well, I mean that's like he's being stretched too thin then, or he may want to be involved, but it's like, well, you got 8 other things going on at once, and this is just going to be like a relatively simple port job. Like I don't mean remaster it, I just mean port it over. Like why do you need to be involved, or like
Yeah.
you might take a meeting every week at the every Friday and see like how well it's progressing technologically, but like you don't need to be in every meeting for the next year while they port it over. Like you
Right.
just give your stamp and be like, all right, it looks good, or look, that looks bad, do it over. Like
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of Sony's like lineup of I think Spider-Man 2 recently was on PC, or is it not on PC yet?
no, it is, yeah.
Okay, so like
That
pretty
was
much, yeah,
that was a pretty iffy port though, even compared to the first one. Like they
yeah,
didn't,
definitely.
like they didn't get it out early for reviews, and then when it came out, it was kind of buggy. Pardon the Spider-Man pun, but and they had to like take more time like fixing it than I think they want to do.
I think for the most part, everything that's recently come out is there.
Yeah,
With Stellar Blade being the most recent of all of them, and that has already sold 1 million copies.
right.
I mean, obviously that has a different factor to it. That we can try to walk around it all we want, but definitely there is a part of that community that definitely bought that because they wanted to mess with the mods.
Yeah,
And they wanted to support that to also, be able to be like, oh, screw the West and the way they do character models and all that stuff.
right.
But look, it is still it is a great game. Let's not belittle that at all. And definitely, it's great to see this shift up, put it on PC where it's doing well. So it does show that strategy works for the most part. Also, they did a really good thing that they should have done a long time ago, which is remove the PSN requirement finally. After I think they announced that like at the beginning of the year that they were going to do that.
Well, they
Like
also just
they did the removing Herman Hulst from the co-CEO thing. They announced it and then didn't do it. So
they also just removed a lot of the like worldwide restrictions on their games.
yeah,
So,
that too. Which that you need that for PC. People are used to the whole buy your PC, play it thing. Don't need to have it behind a gate of I gotta have this or I gotta have that.
right.
Even Ubisoft has learned that with the please don't force the Ubisoft Connect thing on me deal. So it's good to see that Sony is kind of learning to adapt with that. I understand why maybe you still need it for multiplayer, but the single player games, like, why? It's just unnecessary.
Right.
I'm really thinking about like the only things that are really missing are like the older library, like all the older games from those same studios. Um, like the
Like,
older Ratchets and
right.
like
Like
Infamous and things like that. Yeah.
some of that stuff I could see, like PS3 stuff especially is kind of tricky
Yeah.
on anything else. Like that's why there actually haven't been a ton of like PS3 ports
Right.
compared to like usually if they get taken if it's like a previous generation game, or 2 generations ago they use the Xbox 360 version.
Right.
because it's way easier. But yeah, if they ported over, if they made like PC versions of like Tokyo Jungle or uh, Trash Panic or shit like that, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I just think it's almost kind of like the Xbox bringing stuff over to PlayStation kind of thing of like you gotta understand they gotta also like make money when they port that over, and if it's not
Yeah,
gonna
like
have an audience, they're not gonna bring that over either. So it sucks because
yeah,
I agree with you. I'd love to see these franchises that like Sony just won't even bother with anymore get a lease on life on PC.
I mean,
But
what I've always said is they Nintendo, or not sorry Nintendo, but Sony and Microsoft should have just built a really good PC emulator and gone, we'll plug in a game, plug in a ROM, and we'll sell it. And the
yeah,
problem is like once that ever gets out, it's instantly cracked open and you can run anything on it. But
right, exactly.
uh, that's ultimately what you kind of have to do because you're not going. I mean, people are doing that 360 disassembler thing, which is kind of cool, but that's like a game by game basis, and that takes a while, and that's not legitimate, let's say, but still worthwhile. Like Microsoft should be buying that tool and doing the work themselves, but they don't want to. How much what's the cost gain benefit of that? Probably not a lot.
Yeah, definitely, probably not a lot. But so far this PC strategy is mostly working for PlayStation. Most of the negative stuff has been when they've tried to do the PSN requirement, or just the port is not good or has issues, and then
Yeah,
people have to go get refunds, like with Spider-Man 2 and God of War Ragnarok for that matter as well, or Last of Us Part 1 also I think had lots of issues too. So
yeah,
it also doesn't help that they only have like that one studio that seems to be doing all the ports.
right.
And so, you can't bog them down either. But I mean, also another important move is that the PS5 has finally surpassed the PS4 as far as active player base.
Yeah,
As of last year, it was like 49 million on each, and now the PS5 has taken a larger share than the PS4 finally. Combined, they have 124 million monthly active users, which is up even from the 97 million that they had last year. This is also kind of leading them into talking about why, the PlayStation 6 still needs to have the same kind of focus, because look at what it's done for the PS5 and PS4, as people have continued to buy the PS5, and then you have people still stuck on the PS4 because of their live service game that they're playing still is playable on that system, or whatever reason they're using it for. Like, this is a good thing. I mean, this is finally the great news they've probably been wanting to hear, right? Of people seem to finally be adopting PS5s and finally letting go of the PS4s.
right.
But you think that is that a problem necessarily, that people are still kind of stuck on the old system? Or
I mean, at this point, it might be a problem of economics from their end, which is valid
right,
to be
which
sure,
it's
but like
definitely valid, yeah.
they're not like except for like very specific franchises, they're not releasing new crap on the PS4 anymore. Like, yes, Call of Duty will still be on it, but how much is that version kind of going to be not gimped or lesser than the PS5 and the current generation versions?
Right.
But that happens all the time. I mean, that happened last generation and even generation before that. So
Yeah, it will eventually happen
yeah,
to the Switch 2 as well with the third party. I mean, I'm sure DLSS will help a lot so that you'll still get third party games showing up on Switch 2 for a while, much longer than you did with Switch 1, which was
right,
outdated from the moment that console released, whereas Switch 2's not outdated right now, it will eventually become outdated. But
Yeah.
For the time being, it's fine. I'm going to switch gears, pun intended, I guess, to talking about Switch 2, so we can kind of like have this all out there, and then we can talk about the moving the strategy forward. Switch 2, last week there was like reports from leakers that Switch 2 had sold 3 million. But there was nothing official from Nintendo yet until they finally made the announcement at the beginning of this week that within the first 4 days of the Switch 2 releasing, they sold 3.5 million units globally. They sold over 1 million units in Japan. The official number is not out because they don't have numbers from the My Nintendo store, which would have for sure pushed it over 1 million. I think it's around like 900,000 or something like that, just counting from retail without the My Nintendo store. But considering they had like 2 million pre-orders on the Nintendo store just in Japan only, for sure that pushed it over 1 million in Japan. It did really well in Europe, but it didn't outdo like PS5, PS4, or Xbox Series in Europe. Europe's always kind of been weird about like you definitely have fans of each console in Europe and the UK, as opposed to like Japan, America, other parts of Asia, whatever, all have like their specific one that they really like or cater to more. And that's I always find that interesting. But still, to sell 3.5 million units globally within 4 days, that is nothing to sneeze at. They broke the record in the US of 1.1 million, beating out the PS4. It took them a whole month to sell 2.7 million Switches. Do you think that this bodes well for them to start out this well with only having really just one major game at launch? With Mario Kart World, obviously it's the big
You're talking
game,
about that Rune Factory game, right?
Yeah. And also, like, I think was it 79% of people bought Mario Kart World?
Right.
So what are the other 21% of people buying? And
Breath of the Wild again.
Yeah,
for the
well,
third
yeah.
time.
Tears of the Kingdom was the third highest selling physical game, and then Cyberpunk 2077 was like number 2.
I thought it was really fun
on this, or?
Well, yeah, my thought. Okay, the Switch 2 came out June 5th, so that was 11 days ago.
Yeah.
6 days ago, that Linus Tech Tips guy put up a video going the most clickbaity title ever. Going, is the Switch 2 already in trouble? It's like,
Yeah.
dude, it's been 5 fucking days. Like,
Right?
what are you
Yeah.
talking about? And you're also like a PC guy. Like,
he did give it a good review overall when he did his review. Yeah.
But yeah, I really just like his like doom saying about this, or doom and gloom about it, and it's like, shouldn't you wait like a month, or like
right, exactly.
I don't know. I see it like, of course, I think it's a kind of a testament to like Nintendo that like stock isn't great for this thing, but it seems a lot better than it has been for.
I mean, that's one thing that helps. Obviously, Matt Piscatella brought it up.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The PlayStation 5, had it not had the console shortage, probably would have sold a heck of a lot more. But because of that shortage, they only sold like 2.1 million. Right. And then Switch 2 is everywhere. It's like,
yeah,
you can still walk into a store today in a lot of places and buy it. So that just shows how much stock they have.
Also, they're not like real, like, yeah, it's actually in stock, like locally by me, and like Nintendo still has them for sale. So I think it's also a good thing that like, scalpers kind of got asked out on this. It's
yes,
like, well,
definitely.
Yeah, if you want to be scummy about it, what do you think is going to happen? Like,
I mean, take note, Sony and Microsoft for next gen. This is how you do it.
Well, partially. If you had better online, well, I mean, Microsoft and Sony will at least be able to, you can buy those consoles on Amazon, so that'll help.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, and Sony does have its like the Sony store, which is pretty good about taking the scalpers out. Some they still can't fight them completely because we saw what happened with the anniversary, one or whatever.
Bundle,
I mean, look, this is amazing for Nintendo. It's all about what you do from here. You know, for sure, you will continue to sell Switch 2s, especially with the holidays coming up. You're going to have all those people that didn't buy one. Now they definitely are going to be waiting and being like, okay, there's not anything besides Mario Kart World really that I want. Maybe I don't buy it right now, but by the time you get to November, December, they definitely should have a lot more.
And hopefully by then they'll have, if not, they're not going to have a new Mario game in November, but hopefully by then they'll have announced something, you know, Odyssey 2 or Mario Kart 65 or something like that.
Yeah, and then here comes the announcement, which Nintendo today made two big announcements this week. Honestly, it's just so ridiculous that Nintendo has to use this app to announce things, and then they don't let you take things off of it to be able to use. So like
20 years behind the times, technology, you know, from a tech perspective. So,
you know, if we didn't have the internet, Nintendo, I think this would actually benefit you. But you post something on that app, it's going to be on Twitter in like 10 seconds.
Right.
And then it's going to be put out on the gaming news sites and stuff. Yeah, they won't get the video of it, which I guess that's the whole point. You get to reap the benefits of getting to show, hey, well, you know, the video that we have on Nintendo today got watched by a gazillion million people or whatnot. Which, you know, on YouTube, you could actually go and tell people, okay, this is how many people watched it. And I get that Nintendo doesn't get as much revenue from that, even if they get any revenue from the Nintendo Today app at all. But, you know, the music thing I kind of understand, right? Like, they are very big on owning their stuff. They don't want other people, you know, having to give royalties to Spotify and YouTube and all that stuff. Like, I get the music part of it. But the whole news announcement part of it is kind of silly, really. But whatever, you know. Nintendo does their thing. Probably the bigger of the two announcements is that there will be a Nintendo Direct, as has been rumored for like a while. But it's going to be all about Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's going to be 15 minutes of Donkey Kong Bonanza. So if you weren't sold, which a lot of people weren't, on the stuff that they showed during the Treehouse, you can watch 15 more minutes of it.
Isn't this when they finally announced that Seth Rogen has voiced him in the game?
That would be, you know, kind of something you could use on maybe mainstream media there. How are you feeling about Donkey Kong? By the way, like, are you kind of interested?
I'm interested. Like, I would say I'm still taking a kind of wait and see. Like, if the review scores are good, I may try to pick it up. But you know, it's been a long ass while since a Donkey Kong 3D Donkey Kong game has come out. So, will it have Cranky Kong, or will it have instead of the DK rapidly, the DK dubstep?
Yeah. Yeah, is there gonna have other Donkey Kong characters besides Diddy? Seems like a surefire.
I think Diddy's like the one. I mean, I'm sure it'll be like, you know, you'll see Candy Kong, or you'll see, I forget the orangutan,
Dixie,
you know, all the other shitty characters that, like, it'll be like quest givers, or it might like swap into like for temporary help or something. But like DK64 is such a massive game because you have to go through those levels 5 times. You know, because each character has their own objectives and shit to do. And it's like, oh my god, this takes forever. So I don't go do that, you know. least I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, it is supposedly, we don't know for sure, but it's supposedly made by the Mario Odyssey team,
Right.
which I love the crap out of Mario Odyssey. So I really hope that in this 15 minutes they do like really show you what the gameplay is going to be. This is the gameplay loop. But
Yeah.
DK can do other things. It's not just destroying things 24/7, and that's kind of all it is. And but it looks fun. I just worry about for $70. Like, I don't want to buy something and then get bored of it within 5 hours, and then it's like, oh,
All right.
I could have spent that $70 on buying like 3 games instead or something.
Well,
So
that's why I buy it physically. So if you don't like, you can just sell it back real quick and get at least 40 or
yeah,
$50 out of it.
which I did do that with my Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I couldn't do it with Ring Fit because you
Right.
can't trade that in. But I did it with Breath of the Wild and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and I got like $30, and I put that towards getting a Pro Controller too. So
Right.
which should be here, I think Wednesday or Thursday, so I can give thoughts on that. Just because I want to be able to give the whole thing to Anaya, and she wants to use the regular Pro Controller, she can, because I know those Joy-Cons suck. And hopefully it'll encourage her to play more stuff on Switch, but she's having fun with Roblox on the Xbox One, and she's started playing Five Nights at Freddy's. So hey, she's gaming. That's all I care about. I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
We'll eventually, if Split Fiction comes to EA Play, I'll definitely play that with her. I still need to get her to play
too.
Mario Kart World.
I mean, it's on the Switch too, though. So
yeah, but it'll probably play better on my Xbox. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with that. But no, I definitely I want to be excited for Donkey Kong. So hopefully they do give us that. Just also, please don't give away like everybody that's going to be in the game. I want to be surprised. Nintendo has a bad habit sometimes of being like, oh yeah, it also has like all these other characters, and it's like, oh dang it, thanks.
it'll only be a Donkey Kong game for like 3 hours, and then it'll transition to like Smash Brothers, where you just play like every other Nintendo character like in the world.
Do you think so? There was been rumors for a while that, well, before they revealed, when there was rumors that it could be a Donkey Kong game, but we weren't sure, right? That Mario would somehow be in it as sort of a kind of playback to, anniversary
Right.
of Donkey Kong. Do you think Mario makes an appearance?
No, but Jumpman will.
Jumpman will. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Maybe you can bring back Charles Martinet to one last time. It's even though they banned him from doing that, he cannot do Mario voice on anything that is recorded. Apparently,
wasn't he supposed to be like the Goodwill announcer though?
I think so. Yeah, but I wonder if he's gonna be in the new Mario movie at all, like doing other character voices like he did the first time.
I mean, they also fired Peach and Toadstool, the voice actress, and she only did it for 18 years.
Yeah,
like
I wonder if you're still gonna sound like them, just other people. Is it really about money, or is it about just okay? You want to just have younger people doing it, or what's the?
I mean, that strike just ended finally, or
yeah, that too.
Hopefully, but
hopefully it is done.
Yeah,
but we'll see. That's on Wednesday, June 18th. If you live in the Pacific, I'm sorry for you. That is like 6 a.m. That's
right.
gonna come
on.
Well,
watch the replay. Avoid
yeah,
Twitter,
watch the replay. But yeah, so they also announced Splatoon 3 Raiders update, which that is already out. It's a patch that came out on the 12th. It's going to have more detailed visuals and smoother appearance for Splatoon 3. And then they announced the Raiders, which is going to be like 30 new weapons, returning stage from the original Splatoon, Urchin Underpass, a new like battle type as well. So hey, that's cool. I'm glad to see Nintendo still supporting Splatoon.
But no, what about ARMS, man? Come on.
I think that's the team doing Dragon Drive.
Right.
So, which I imagine that's not going to do too hot.
Right.
Maybe they'll surprise us and it will, but I just that is by far been the one game that everybody has maligned every time they've done like a preview thing for it.
Yep.
So I imagine people are talking smack about it at a preview event. It will not play well when you get everybody's hands on it.
I heard like it's like not terrible, but it's just if it's $10, that's one thing. But it'll
yeah, if you're gonna charge
like
$60 for it,
right?
Then no.
And how much content is it really gonna have?
I could see them maybe charging 40.
Right.
But yeah, that's gonna be an interesting thing when that comes out. Another reason why you need to have Donkey Kong. Do you think there's a reason why they're not doing just having Donkey Kong be in a Nintendo Direct, like a full Nintendo Direct?
They might want to. I wouldn't say reintroduce, but really show off the character in a 3D space. Like I said, it's been damn near 30 years or 25 years since the 3D Donkey Kong game's been out. So they can go, oh, these are his new abilities, or this is what he can do. Like,
well, we have seen Nintendo does like the full Direct or whatever towards the end of June usually.
Right.
But I'm starting to think that maybe they're going to wait until after Donkey Kong Bonanza comes out because they don't want anything stealing Donkey Kong's thunder.
Right.
Like they don't want somebody to get excited about a new Mario, 3D Mario and going, oh, well, I'm not going to buy Donkey Kong then. Or any other. I mean, we know Pokemon's coming, we know Metroid's coming, but I think if you give somebody a date of when Metroid Prime 4 is coming out, and maybe you have some other games that are going to come along before the end of this year, and I don't know if they'll do an update to Animal Crossing or, insert one of their more popular games here that they do an update on. And it's like, then people start kind of looking at it and going, maybe I'll just update that and play that instead of buying Donkey Kong. And I think maybe Nintendo just kind of wants to give it that shining star status right now. And then maybe after that comes out, or even in August, you have the full Direct that kind of leads you into here's what's coming out the rest of the year kind of thing.
Right.
But I mean, like they don't that's the thing, is like they don't have like, we know Pokemon's coming in October. Have they given a date for Dragon Drive? I think they just said summer.
Right.
And then Metroid doesn't have a date.
I gotta imagine Metroid is this year, though. I mean,
it's definitely this year. It's just they don't know yet, right? Like they haven't given a date, so it's either going to be September or it's going to be November.
It'll be like December 28th,
So it's like, yeah, they have some pretty good third-party stuff coming, but that's just the thing about the Switch 2 in general. That's like, they really did not give out those dev kits very early. So like everybody that's now scrambling to get them,
right?
They're kind of behind on making games. So I imagine there's going to be a glut of games early next year that are going to be coming out kind of delayed. So
right.
We'll see, I guess. Then you got
all the ports you can imagine.
Oh yeah, I'd imagine all the ports are coming for sure. I forgot about that Tamagotchi Plaza thing. That's coming at the end of this month. But yeah. For sure it's going to be interesting for Nintendo, but definitely Donkey Kong is that that one game they're banking on for next month to kind of be the one that carries it through for a while. So, hopefully for Nintendo and all the Donkey Kong fans, it's a really good one. But that being said, we also just hit one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the PlayStation stuff is unfortunately Sony Bend has been hit with layoffs. Now they're kind of attributing this to they're laying off like 30% of the staff, which is around 40 people, according to Bloomberg, which again, layoffs always suck. Not a good thing. Sony's kind of attributing it to like workforce reduction because they're not ramping up on a game. They're essentially starting from scratch right now.
Yeah.
Because they had their multiplayer game canceled. It's just weird, like what this studio's kind of become, right? Like Days Gone, and then they didn't let them make Days Gone 2, and then they transferred them over to doing a multiplayer game that we don't even know what it was. They canceled it, and then there it is.
I mean, I'd be curious if that Days Gone did anything well on PC.
Oh, the remaster?
Yeah. Or how well it did on, PS5, but, honestly, I would say, hey, make another Siphon filter.
Hey, then somebody could use one of those at this point,
Right.
really.
They're obviously not fucking around with, Splinter Cell, so.
Yeah, like, that's the thing is, like, even if they were going to, do you think that they could say, okay, we'll let you do Days Gone 2? Or you think that's kind of like, no, it's no way it's happening?
I think, like I said, I think that would really depend on how well it sold recently. Like, if it did sell exceedingly well, sure. Like, because I imagine they would reuse a lot of the assets, or it wouldn't be like a wholly new game necessarily.
Didn't they have some? Didn't some big game come out at the same time and like basically any kind of? I can't think of it right now, but I know there was some game that like came out and it was like, okay, well, if anybody was thinking about Days Gone remaster, it's definitely not happening now.
Right.
But
I think it was Sekiro.
Oh no, I meant the remaster, not.
Oh.
I
don't know. I mean, stuff gets released so quickly on fucking PC at this point. It's hard to keep track of anything,
Yeah, part of it is just because like it felt like they just kind of put that thing out and we're just like, hey, it's there.
Right.
All right. If you're looking forward to it, cool. We're not gonna really promote it.
I mean, again, you can't like use Steam charts as like the most accurate barometer ever, but it sold at least 27,000 copies on Steam.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, you have to wonder like how much at $60 a pop or $50, that doesn't sound great, but also like how much work did that actually take to get running on PC? Probably not a huge amount.
Yeah, probably not a huge amount. And then on PS5, I mean, probably even less because you already have the assets. You're just remastering them. I mean, they did add that new mode or whatnot as well. I don't know how that sold. I don't know if that really sold anyone on that or whatever. But yeah, we'll see. I think it sucks for Sony Bend because
I don't know. I saw this as kind of like them having to scale back down from doing their live service game. Like,
yeah, definitely. That's kind of what Sony was saying.
Yeah, maybe some critical people got axed or more superfluous people, but when did they get hired, or were they around for 20 years? The past 30 years of the studio, or they just hired on the past 5 years and for like network infrastructure crap that we're not making a network game anymore. So, yep.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's Clair Obscure came out the day before.
One of those small indie games.
Yeah, that just like blew up, and anything that came out around it, forget it. And then Forza Horizon also ate its lunch as well on PlayStation.
Right.
And Elder Scrolls and all that stuff that came out around that time. So if you even knew the Days Gone remaster was a thing, you probably had to be like really, really looking forward to that.
I'm sure the 8 people still holding the candle for Days Gone too.
Yeah. But yeah, moving just really quick here to get to some other things. Borderlands 4 is officially going to be $70 after the scare that Microsoft and Nintendo moved games over to 80. Outer Worlds 2 officially was announced as 80 last week. There was backlash to that. There was obviously huge backlash to Mario Kart World being $80.
I think for certain games Mario World kind of makes sense. They will sell DLC down the road, like additional tracks for some season pass thing, but that's about it. And for Outer Worlds 2, same thing. Like they'll sell some season pass or 2 expansions and be like, all right, we're done. But for Borderlands or for Madden or even Call of Duty, like they make the money back on cosmetics, right, by leaps and bounds. So I mean, can you imagine if they released NBA 2K 26 as a $20 game?
Oh no, that'll never happen.
Well, I meant like, could you just imagine it though? Like they would sell probably hundreds of thousands of more copies.
Oh yeah.
But also I think they might actually make a lot of that money back just from the cosmetic side, or whatever they're calling FIFA nowadays, like the card packs bullshit. Like,
yeah.
So yeah,
I mean that's part of the reason why they didn't move those to 80 yet, because they don't want.
Yeah, I think it was never going to be 80 because I don't think Borderlands can support it as a franchise, especially at this point.
Yeah,
and then B, like they will sell the expansions like they always do, but they sell a bunch of other dumb bullshit as well. So,
well, and I think also that blow up that happened with Brandy. Also, if they were thinking about it, I think after that it was kind of like, maybe we don't do that. I'm sure that Strauss Zelnick probably gave Randy Pitchford an earful, but
I think not Vice City. I think GTA 6 is a special thing because I think it'll be 80. But they don't sell expansions anymore to that. They just have GTA Online.
Right.
And there is a good portion of the audience into that, but millions who aren't. So they'll play the single player and go like, all right, that was it, and then that'd be it.
But it's such a seminal game. It's such a game that like you said, it's special. Like you're not going to get another GTA in this generation. So play it because cherish it. Is worth the $80. You're going to get hundreds of hours out of it.
Like I'd be more into. I mean, they didn't do it for GTA 5 when we talked about the canceled it. But if they'd done story DLC for GTA 5, I would have bought it.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They just did like online bullshit, and I don't care about that. So,
all right. I mean, also somebody else that had a showcase this week was Konami. They revealed more on Metal Gear Solid Delta and Silent Hill F. There's going to be an online mode for Delta, but it's not going to be Metal Gear Solid Online or Metal Gear Online. Sorry. And also the Xbox officially will not, even though I think we all knew this, Xbox will officially not have the Ape Escape thing in there. They're going to have a Bomberman thing on theirs. But perhaps, even though they only showed like a minute of it, they didn't show any gameplay. They just showed like literally a title card. But the biggest news to come out of it is that Silent Hill 1 Remake is officially being made by Bloober Team. and Konami. So that was we don't have a name, but Bluebird team is working again with Konami on something. Is it the right call? Go with Silent Hill 1 instead of 3, or?
It's only the right call if after this when they do Silent Hill 4 and then do 3. Just to really confuse, fuck up the numbering, you know. I mean Silent Hill I guess 1 is fine. I guess. My 2 points funny things about this. I had a friend convinced they were gonna announce some new Castlevania thing. And I was like, what are you I was just thinking like, are you smoking something or what? Like they don't have anyone at Konami anymore. Like that's why they keep handing the shit off to other people. Like
yeah.
What are they going to do? Have Iga and the Bloodstained crew do a new Castlevania? Like that'd be kind of funny. But
right.
And the other thing was, like the Metal Gear Solid thing. Like I know people are pissed that it's like basically prop hunt, and it's like, yo, did you see that trailer they showed a week ago when the Snake or the playable character like got on the ground and became a bunch of rocks? Like.
Yeah.
Did you not realize that then that it was going to be prop hunt? Like, are you new?
Apparently.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess. I mean, do you care about Silent Hill at all, or no?
I do. Yeah. I'm glad that it is getting. I mean, Silent Hill 2 remake was great, so I'm glad that Silent Hill 1 is now getting its.
Let me ask you this then: are you more excited for this or Silent Hill F?
Yeah, for Silent Hill 1, yeah, definitely. I'm more excited. I am interested in Silent Hill F. Just to see what their take on it is, and hopefully the good part of it can continue. It's just Bluebird team is not involved, so I wonder if it will be just as good as Silent Hill 2 remake was.
I think my problem, at least with a lot of that franchise, and this popped up in the brief time I played Silent Hill 2, is like the first weapon you get is like this metal pipe, right, which is apparently indestructible. Like,
well, don't you get like a wood, like a piece of wood or whatever first?
That's
okay,
but you're still making the point. Like, really a weapon. I mean, the Master Sword should be indestructible. Some piece of rebar you're hitting this zombie with, and it should fall apart after like 6 hits or something, or
Yeah, I agree with that. It's funny that we all love weapon degradation, so except in the games where you think it should be there and it's not.
I would say it actually kind of makes sense Silent Hill F because that presumably takes place in some Japanese locale. Yeah. They don't have guns, but they might have swords.
Right.
And they might have a lot of them. So that kind of makes some sense, but not in like any American town where there's a gun store on every corner,
Yeah, agreed. And just really quickly here, I should have mentioned it when we talked about it. FBC Firebreak will have free updates all throughout. So, hey, if you already subscribe to PS Plus or Game Pass, you get the game free, and then you're going to get the updates free.
So let me ask you this. Do you think, I don't know the actress's name, do you think they get Jesse Faden in this thing at all?
I think she'll make an appearance in flashbacks or whatever, but not in the actual thing.
Okay.
Because will it ever have an end? Right? Like, that's the thing is like, do they have an ending point for the lore and then they just keep plugging away at the multiplayer part of it? Or is this like always going to have like little lore tidbits every time they add something? And in that case, like, do they have a tease that goes into Control 2 eventually? Like the further it goes, because like that's the thing too. It's like you can have this idea that this game is going to last during the entire development that's left of Control 2, and then it just doesn't, right? So does that force them to just throw in all of the story stuff like when they announce? Hopefully not, right? I want the game to do well because the more you can help Remedy continue to gain revenue so that they can keep making those games. is
Right.
great, right? And then obviously they have whatever the movie thing is going to be, or is it a TV show? I can't remember right at this minute. And like,
Either way, it's not happening. So
yeah, so that's the thing, is that I think it would definitely help them for that to keep going. But if there's a chance that it doesn't do as well as they hope, and they have to throw all that in there, like,
right.
does it ever have a finality is the thing for me. But I do think she makes an appearance at some point. I just don't know if it's going to be like, oh, hey, there's Jesse,
Right. She'll be like a raid boss, or like it'll be some evil version of her.
Yeah. Do they tie anything to Alan Wake at all? That'll be
Nope.
interesting. But yeah, we'll definitely see what happens to that. And in a day or two time, how much story is in that thing.
Right.
And how much of it is just a multiplayer game. So there's also a new another Legacy of Kain remaster is happening. This is not official. It's kind of like a Gematsu spotted a rating for Legacy of Kain Defiance being rated for PS5 and PS4. This is the PS2 game, so it's probably going to be added to the like PS Plus at some point or whatever. Hey, that's cool. I'm glad that series is getting a kind of second life or whatever.
I mean, Defiance was like the PS2 games were not really good. Soul Reaver 2 was like passable, but I remember Blood Omen 2 was like not great.
Right.
And Defiance was like the last hurrah, and the conclusion of the whole kind of franchise. And it was not the best, but it was certainly like playable and decent enough.
Yeah.
So sure.
Well, yeah. Hopefully that does well, and we'll see. We'll see it. I mean, that's an Embracer studio, and Embracer CEO is finally going to be gone, Lars Wingford. So we'll see what the plan is for Embracer.
I still think that game they crushed out 10 years ago, not the Nosgoth and like multiplayer disaster, but the other one, like that was supposed to be like the single player game. That looked really cool. And of course it got canceled.
Yeah.
It's like, you idiots.
Sadness, you guys. But all right, let's go ahead. Sorry.
You go.
No, I was just gonna move us on to talk about the topic here. The one thing I did not mention during that whole summit thing was that Hideaki Nishino and Herman Hulst both, I think Nishino is the one that speaks on it, but they both mentioned when they were asked the question about, well, what about PlayStation going forward? And Nishino does mention that top of mind right now is the future, like what they will be doing going forward, having different avenues for PlayStation gamers to have access to PlayStation, and kind of just hinting that, look, PlayStation 6 is getting made, people. Like, we are looking forward to that. We are looking ahead at that. They didn't give any kind of time frame as to when that will happen, but kind of all signs point to 2027 as but they also kind of did it in sort of like a question of, they were asked about Switch 2 launch being well, and they kind of did it as well, it's great that we have competitors in the market, but we're not looking at what the Switch is doing. We're kind of doing our thing. We believe in consoles. We believe in you need to have the big screen experience, and that's something that only PlayStation consoles deliver. And then they were also talked about, like, what about cloud streaming? That's kind of another thing that's kind of progressing and keeps improving as things go on. And obviously, Sony themselves have added cloud streaming to the PlayStation Portal, and they have cloud streaming as part of like how you can play your PS3 games on PS Plus, and you can stream any of those games as well through PS Plus if you don't want to download them to your console. And it works fairly well and all that stuff. And he says that, hey, there's obviously multifaceted platforms. He they're asked about what about Microsoft and what they're doing, and he says that they are essentially still all about the console. That's what they have faith in. They can't really talk about what PlayStation 6 will be, but it will essentially kind of be what the PlayStation 5 is, but better. And they are still all gung-ho about, look, the console is our focus. We're not trying to branch out into. They are probably going to have a cloud part of that. There's rumors that they are developing their own handheld, but there's nothing concrete as of now. Really, it's just kind of like, okay, well, this is what could be in it and that kind of thing. It's not nothing Sony has announced themselves, nothing that anybody with really a lot of cachet, like, the Jeff Grubbs, Jason Schreiers, that kind of thing. And nobody on that side has kind of come out and said, oh, this is definitely happening, by the way.
Right.
Whereas there was a lot of reports about, oh, the Xbox handheld is definitely happening. And that obviously got proven true with the ROG Xbox Ally thing. Whereas like PlayStation is still kind of very nebulous. We don't know. So when you look at all the strategies that we see, right? Switch is definitely, they are embracing the hybrid handheld thing. They have continued that on with Switch 2. Xbox is basically, we are going to be wherever the heck you are, playable on everything. Moving more towards their console seemingly is going to be a PC. And Sony is just sticking their flag on the ground and saying, we are not changing. We are going to be a gaming console. And that is going to be our focus. Obviously, when you look at Sony is obviously also the de facto gaming console when it comes to what we think of as a gaming console, because Xbox has deteriorated itself.
Right.
And Switch has embraced what they are. Do you think that means PlayStation has the winning strategy now going into next gen?
I think yes for the next gen, but I'm more iffy about like the gen after that. It really depends still on like internet proliferation through the world, because there's still great swaths even in America that are like barely dial-up speeds. As far as like the business, I don't really see the Xbox brand lasting too much longer as dedicated console box, because why should it?
I mean, we still don't know if they're going to. I mean, they just announced that they haven't announced because that thing was never actually officially announced. But
Right.
the rumors are that the Xbox proprietary handheld has been shelved in favor of the Asus thing.
They've literally been talking about an Xbox handheld since the original Xbox.
Yeah.
So I don't see him doing that. I just see them like Microsoft just getting like them as a hardware manufacturer. It's always been kind of wonky to me. Like they might have like the occasional good thing. Like I guess people kind of like the whatever tablet they do. Forget the name of it. Surface.
The Surface, yeah.
But look at like the Zune. Look at Web TV. I think that was them. They have a whole history of other weird bullshit that
the phone, right? The Windows phone that Satya Nadella says now he wishes he didn't cancel, but they canceled it.
Right. And yeah, they just have like a whole weird history of like, physical things that technically might work, but are cumbersome and weird to use. Like I just see them slowly getting out of the whole physical market or product.
Well, they already are pretty much.
Right. I don't mean like discs. I mean like why have an Xbox console at all? Like just release shit on Steam and Sony and call it a life.
I think from the PlayStation side of things, they have no reason to deviate from
Right.
what they're doing as far as the console goes, because they are selling PS5s. They are now ahead of where the PS4 was finally, and they still
Right.
have some years to go. I'm sure they would love to be further ahead of the PS4 this year. And obviously, it doesn't help that people are just stuck with their PS4s, whether it's for economic reasons or because they have no reason to move, because all of their free to play live service stuff is still playable on the PS4. That's going to
Right.
be interesting as far as that moves. They said that supposedly the reason why they picked AMD instead of going with another manufacturer, which IBM was apparently the only other one that they were seriously considering, is because they want to make sure that they had the backwards compatibility for PS4. They want PS4 to be able to be playable moving forward, which, we
Right.
know that that's one thing Xbox has at least dedicated themselves to. They want to future proof further generations, whether it's with a console or not. Even Nintendo has done it this go around, right? The Switch One, for the most part, most of the games work, whether they are greatly compatible or not. Some of them don't work as well, but I'm sure they can patch that stuff out. Most of the games do work. So it seems like all of the three console makers, or the big three or whatever, are at least embracing that, hey, backwards compatibility is important for people. They want to still have access to those libraries. I think from PlayStation's point of view too, is like, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a handheld in development. Like you were telling me, before we started recording, is there a chance that it gets to a certain point and they go, we don't really
Yeah,
need to
like the
spend.
cost, or
Yeah,
yeah, like, and even if they do make some handheld, it's gonna have some goofy feature in it or some goofy thing that will turn people off. It's
I
Sony. It
just,
has to.
I mean, the Portal sold really well. I think it sold way better than they ever expected it to. It is still selling decently. Even though I always thought it was $100 more expensive than it should have been, but that's neither here nor there. It sold that regardless. Um, I just think that, like, people want to have that untetheredness part of it. Like, they want to not have to have the console in order to have it. Um, it is a nice accessory to the console, right? Like, you can have the console plugged in, you can use it, you can cloud stream, but the cloud stream apparently is not great. Even the remote play version of it apparently doesn't work depending on how good your internet is in your house. That's another thing. That's another issue in itself. Is like, yes, internet should get better. Internet should improve. Cloud gaming should improve. But do you really want to have a handheld that is built all around cloud gaming and can't natively play those games? Like,
But like, you're talking about going from a $200 unit to a $600 unit. So
yeah,
it was really funny.
but
I talked to a friend recently on Blue Sky, and he was talking about, like, he's like, oh, now they got a Switch 2. I'm gonna play Cyberpunk on it. I'm just like, why? Like, if it hasn't interested you, like he said, believe me, he said PS4s and shit. He has a PS5 and crap like that. And
right.
he was like, what? Why would it interest you on a Switch 2? Like, to play a
You can get it
more
cheaper on the PS5.
right. But he had the mentality that you kind of do. Like, he was like, oh, now that I can play it like on the go, it
Right.
might be better. I'm just like, no, it won't. Like, it's still the same game, right? It's still like, I just like if it doesn't interest you in the past 5 years, it's not gonna interest you now they can play it in the rooftop party. You know,
Yeah, I do. I do get what you're saying there, but
yeah,
I would say that beyond our generation, right? The generations that are coming after us, my daughter, Randy's kids, children, the generation Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they want to play wherever it is that whatever device that they have the thing on. They don't want to be stuck in front of a TV that a lot of them don't even freaking watch. Let's be honest. Okay. People will
sure,
watch stuff on their tablet, on their phone. They don't care about the big screen like we do, right? They don't care about the graphics, power of the graphics like we do. right? And then now we're starting to get to the point where it's like diminishing returns.
Right.
Even though, yes, Switch 2 is going to run into the problem that when you get to the PlayStation 6 and then whatever the Xbox is going to be called, if the thing comes out at all, where, yes, there will be that gulf in graphical quality that you're going to have to deal with. But, like, people are used to the Switch 2 being underpowered, right? As
Switch
long as
1.
Nintendo's still making those games,
Right.
they don't care. And I do think that that's where I do think that Sony will have to, whether it's the Portal 2 or having an own handheld, is by the time we get to that and we're having Gen Z and Gen Alpha older, and if they're playing games at all, a lot of them are playing on PC, right? Because you can then take your PC games and play them on the PC handheld or whatnot, which is why Xbox is getting into the PC handheld.
But a lot of
Kind of
it's
thing.
also just the phone. Like,
Yeah, you can play it on the phone. Right.
I tried to explain this to a friend of mine, like the Switch 2, because she was like, "What's different about it?" I'm like, "Well, it's bigger, it's more powerful, and all this other crap." And she was like, and she was like, "You're supposed to take it out?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, like that's what you do, and that's what other people do." And she was just like, "Why?" Like, and she's older than us, but she was like, it's not a portable system. You can't just put it in your pocket and go.
Right.
Like, and then also, and she was like, "Wouldn't you be worried about it getting damaged or stolen?" And I was like, people should be, but they're not. Like,
Well, I mean, that's why they make carrying cases, right? And most
yeah, but
people,
like that's not exactly okay. That's kind of missing the point, though. Of like, okay, you can put it in a case, but the case can also get stolen, or
I mean, it definitely can, but I mean, a lot of people that if you're going on a bus, you're going on a train, you're going on a plane, you're going on whatever, you've
right,
got a backpack, you got something to put it in, right? You can lock that thing if you want, and then you can use it on the trip that you're having it on, and then you lock it again. It's not really. I feel like people are embracing the I want my games where I am at any time, and I do think that does lend to Xbox's strategy a little bit.
right,
I do think that their strategy, that's part of the strategy I think will work. That will allow them, along with their library of games that the game publishers and all that they own now, will make it to where Xbox will be around, right? I don't think that whether there's a console still that says Xbox on it is another thing entirely, but Xbox as a publisher will be around.
yeah,
And I do think that lends to their idea of we are just going to be on every freaking TV that you could possibly own. We're going to make our next console is going to be a PC, and then all of your games are going to just work on that, and then it can work on your phone, and it can work on whatever other device you have. And it's like, I do think that there is something to that where maybe you're not thinking about, oh, I got to buy the Xbox console, but I can buy into this Xbox ecosystem. And then I have 4 generations of games that I now have access to that I can go buy inside the Microsoft store. Right.
right,
So I do think that that could give them a little bit of life that, and then you still have Game Pass of, okay, I don't know how much it's going to cost at that point, $25. And I can play all these games without having to buy every single one of them. And obviously, part of that going digital thing that they're doing is because they are trying to be more like PC. They are trying to, hey, PC gamers are fine with not having physical versions of their games because it's all on Steam, right?
right,
Xbox is trying to do the same thing. Like, why do you care? It's going to be a PC anyway, and you're going to play all your games in the cloud or in the whatever. I do think cloud is going to play a bigger factor in the next generation, in enabling you to be able to have access to your game faster and all that stuff. I think as the generation goes on, it will be important, and I do think Sony is kind of cognizant of that as well. It's going to be interesting with Nintendo are they going to wind up doing a Switch 3, or do they stop at 2 and try to do something else? Like, I think, yeah, just Nintendo's going to be very interesting because they are still in their own world, even though, you know, Steam doesn't care about competing with them as far as a unit sale perspective, but they are competing with them as far as like the games that Steam Deck can play compared to what the Switch 2 can play. And same thing with the Windows PC handheld devices and all that. I mean, do you see like where do you see that kind of evolving? Do you think we're going to have even more Windows and Steam PC handhelds, or what do you think's going to wind up happening with that? Do you think it starts contracting because there's too many, or?
I think it's already kind of too many because you got all the other weird, goofy shit coming out that no one cares about or has even heard of, and it's like, who wanted this, or like
there's a lot of these like retro devices too that I saw today that like because they can stream, you can also play games from that are not just like older games. You can play like your newer games on it because it's all through cloud streaming.
Right.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. And they're cheaper, right? They're like $200 and not 500 or 800 or whatever.
Right. Yeah, so, exactly. Like, yeah, I have a friend who works at a company called SUI, Sui,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they got some like weird, goofy Sui play looking thing, and I'm just like, why? Like, are there a ton of pre-orders for this thing, or I guess it sold out technically, but like, how many did you have in the first place, and then how many do you need to scale up for this thing to actually be profitable?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Right.
If you go on social media, especially like TikTok, there's literally hundreds of those things constantly being thrown into your face. About buy this one, buy that one, buy this one.
Right.
Like, I think that will eventually kind of cut itself out because you can only have so many go around. Eventually, I do think technology is going to get good enough where maybe you don't have to have the, $1,000 one going around, but
especially since they're all like probably made by the same factory anyway, just slapping different badges on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Slightly different control schemes, and be like, here you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just an interesting time as far as like gaming in general and like where everything is, and it does feel like everybody's kind of taking from each other a little bit,
right?
So like it is gonna be kind of cool to see what does win out in the end when we're talking about that next gen. Is it going to be Microsoft's strategy of being everywhere? Is it going to be Sony just saying, look, hey, here's the console, you're going to play it on the console. I don't know if we're going to have a handheld, if we're going to have another Portal or whatever, but you can play on that thing, or you can still play on your phone with remote play if you want, but you got to buy our console and everything's going to be on our console. We're still not even going to have like day and date PC. Do you see a point where they do embrace to PC more at some point, or do you think they're always going to be like that?
I think they're always going to be like that, or kind of closed off, like because they've tried to kind of make like desktop PCs, or like home PCs for like gaming, like the living room PC, and it never quite worked. Remember like Steam machines back in the day?
Yeah. There's rumors that Steam is doing that again, but
no,
we'll see.
I think that like a lot of people think to just throwing more power at it, or the problem is like the answer. Like the Steam machine, even when it kind of came out, is a little underpowered,
right?
Or even like the Switch One. But I think those machines get away with it better because they're more simple to use and not as prone to being like overly complicated. I mean, the Steam, you can really fuck with the Steam machine if you want to, but like out of the box, it's easier to get into than like the MSI Claw, the ROG Ally, loading into some Windows desktop. It's like, oh god, no.
Yeah. So do you think that this idea of Xbox essentially making their console a PC, like an actual full PC with this Xbox UI or whatever,
it's going to be like the original Xbox.
like, do you think that has a chance of succeeding where you are now just embracing, you can go to any store and you bought your game on Steam, you can play it there, and
I could see, I mean, I would say no, because so many of those games still need like a mouse and keyboard. Like, you're not
right.
gonna like what are you gonna do? Buy the old Infinium Labs Lapboard, the Phantom Peak console that they were trying to make like 20 years ago and never came out? Like,
Yeah.
I don't I don't think it'll work. Like, because PC people like having a PC and console people like having a console, and never the twain shall really meet. Like, can you imagine if Microsoft sold a console and then they're like, okay, if you want to run this game, you have to open up this console and install a video card, like a new video card. And they're like, fuck no. Like,
Yeah. I mean, eventually, yeah, I do. Obviously the point is that they're supposed to make it to where it'll be PC but more plug and play, where you don't have to. You'll install. The whole point apparently with the ROG Ally X, what Xbox thing is,
right.
that you're going to install the store one time and then you never have to go out to Windows again, because it'll then be in the Xbox dashboard thing, and you can just play them all off there, which, it's been tested, it's been done.
Right.
If they can do that on a bigger scale on the Xbox, where you essentially have your PC games and it will just do the Steam thing of installing whatever it is you don't have on there for you, without you really having to go in the back end and do the finding the driver that you have to install and all. If it does all those things for you without you having to get out of your gaming interface, I do see how that could be a plus. Obviously, the important part is that you are going to have to. You do need to make those the older Xbox games, go and work on that console, because that's part of it. That's part of the reason why some people are not sold on the Ally X thing, because you're not going to be able to play your original Xbox 360 games, anything that's bought on the Xbox console that is not also Play Anywhere at this point does not work on there. Maybe it does eventually, right? I'm sure that they're heading towards that. Like, I think that's going to be the big gimmick with the next console, is going to be your whole entire library. It doesn't matter when you bought it, where you bought it, it works on here. All you got to do is download it, and there you go. Who cares where you bought it? It's there. Even PlayStation, right? We'll see if PlayStation blocks it eventually, but
day one, yeah.
Let's see. They're not going to block it on the Ally. It looks like,
but also, I could see them going like, wait, that'll never happen, because so many games have like rights issues and shit like that. So
yeah,
I mean, you can't even buy like a digital version on like the current Xbox of like Amped 3,
right,
because of the music problems, and it's like,
yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why the whole backwards compatibility thing went away eventually, because they got to the point where there was no more games they could actually make backwards compatible, because they didn't know who the heck they're supposed to go try to reach out to in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is funny, well,
Microsoft owns Amped 3. Like,
right.
They just don't want to relicense the music.
Yeah, that whole thing with Activision, like, I wonder what that is. Like, are they just trying to get all of the licenses together in one go, and then they will start piecemeal, putting a lot of this stuff out? Or they just, I wonder what they're waiting for. I'd love to know what it is that is holding that back. I do understand they're not going to do what they did with Bethesda, where they're just going to drop 30 games at once. I don't think they'll do that, because that is one of the things that helps make Game Pass look good. Is that like, oh, here's this game that I haven't played in 15 years or whatever that now I can play, right? Tony Hawk's a remaster, but like getting that in and being able to put that into Game Pass and having like, oh, that's my July game, right? Or June, yeah, July. Like it's like, well, cool, that's awesome, right? It is going to be like, so far Sony has been able to combat the Game Pass part of it, and combat the whole, but now Xbox has become the biggest publisher on their store, so it's like it is going to be a cool, like, what happens with next gen, what winds up winning out, what do people gravitate towards, what does Nintendo wind up doing with their strategy so far seeming to work. The Switch 2 is so well. Let's see what we're talking about this time into the generation for Nintendo, that go around. But hey, what do you think about the future of gaming? Whose strategy are you a fan of? Or you think is going to win out? Is it Sony? Is it Microsoft? Is it Nintendo? You let us know in the comments. That being said, there are games, as they always do, coming out this week. Like I've mentioned, I think like 3 times now, FBC Firebreak is one of them. That'll be out like pretty much now by the time you're watching or listening to this, for sure. Go check it out. It's going to be on Game Pass. It's going to be on PS Plus. Something worth trying for sure. If that is not your speed, you can definitely go and date everything. You can literally go on. You have hundreds of versions of something in your household. You can go date if you want.
Right.
There's a third-party indie football game, Massive Football, that's free to play. You can go play that. That's also going to be out now. Tron Catalyst, that's going to be interesting because the first Tron game from Bithell was actually pretty good. So I'm surprised you're not asking for that to review.
I'm pretty neutral on Tron.
Okay.
Overall, like, I think it's kind of a neat idea, but well, who knows?
Yeah, that's also going to be out now as well. Hell Clock is going to be out on PC. Was on a few showcases. The new Elder Scrolls expansion will be out as well on the 18th. The Raidu Remastered, Mystery of the Soulless Army. I know you're interested in that,
right?
Mark, that's going to be a Switch 2 game as well, along with everything else. The Slow Cap soccer game Rematch. I will definitely be checking that out on Game Pass. I've been excited for this game for a while. That comes out on the 19th on Thursday. Star Overdrive comes to everything else. It was on Switch for a while at launch. So yeah, there's some cool things coming out this week. Definitely a lot for people to check out if they're a fan of any of these.
No, the Gex trilogy just hit today also.
Yeah, the Gex trilogy. I know you're you got that.
Adam
right?
wants it also.
Okay.
No, I don't have it. I'm
okay.
still considering trying to buy the physical one, but
okay,
it's expensive, and like some of the limited run recent collections are kind of like not great.
Yeah.
Like that Rido remaster, I would have got it, but it's $200 and you don't get a ton with it. You get like a figurine and like a plushie of the cat. And that's kind of about it.
Right.
It's like, that's not great. Like,
yeah. Hopefully it does well for Atlas,
right.
And leads to them being able to port or remaster more of these the other one, and also just more of these kind of off the wall, Persona-ish, Shin Megami Tensei type things. We know Soul Hackers 2 didn't do that great, but hopefully this kind of bucks that trend.
Translate and bring over the Xbox One that never came out in America.
Right. But all right. Thank you everybody for watching live that did, or whether you watched later or listened later. We do appreciate you. Go and Like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff on the channel. Leave us a review on the podcast. Provider of your choice. Leave us a comment on YouTube. That helps a lot as well. Give us a like. Let us know what you think about all the stuff we talked about, and we'll see you next week, everybody.
Later.
Later.